Hey guys, welcome back to Even If Ministry. I am Miss Bailey. I know it has been a while, but I am so glad that you are tuning in, and hopefully you will get something great out of this video. I just have a short little thing for you today. I was recently reading a book by Tim Tebow, and something in it really struck me. Throughout this particular chapter, he was talking about doing everything that you do to the best of your ability and making sure that you just put in the effort and that you value the time that God gives you. And I want to start out and just read a quick little excerpt from this chapter. It says, "Whatever you do, do it with all your might. If you don't, you are not valuing the time that God gave you. You're telling him that gift is not worth it. You may not be happy with where you are, but he can still pull purpose through it. You can have ambition to be somewhere better or do something else and strive toward those things, but never forget God can, and, if you're willing, will use you wherever you are in the process. You may be in a role or situation that is not the entire expression of your purpose, but you are still meant to carry your purpose into those places. There's power in allowing God to manifest his presence in whatever you do, right here and right now. One way to do this is to take pride in all the work you do, whether it's in a boardroom, throwing a baseball on the field, or caring for little ones in your home." This really struck me about the situation that I'm in right now, about sometimes my attitude towards my job and towards my classes, and I wonder how often we do that in our lives. You might not love the job that you're in right now or the class that you have, but do you just do the bare minimum and hope for the best? Do you do just enough to get the boss off your back? Do you leave a problem unsolved or a mess untouched for the next worker to deal with because you're off the clock? Do you get all your answers from Quizlet, even though you know you're not really learning anything and you're undermining all the hard work of your teacher? See, these things might not seem like they're sinful things or bad things, but we need to remember that we are Christians in everything that we do. We're not just Christians when we worship. We're not just Christians when we sit in a pew. We need to be hard workers, and we need to shine the light of Christ in everything that we do. And this comes from Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. It says, "Work willingly at whatever you do, as though you are working for the Lord rather than for people." And that is so true. That permeates everything that we do in our lives, because the Christian faith, it establishes relationships that really change the nature of the social structure. When the Christian faith was established, and a long time ago, talking about even in the Old Testament, there are many scriptures that talk about how a slave is kind to his master and a master is kind to his slave, and one is not above the other. And this was, in today's sense, we don't want to talk about this in a sense of slavery, but in a sense of employee to boss. The boss man does not need to be someone that abuses his employees. And as an employee, you need to be somebody that works hard for your boss and respects him or her in whatever they are doing. And we need to just have this constant attitude of living for Christ, of living a mission-filled life, is what Tim Tebow's book talks about. And when we are living a mission-filled life, we are living for Christ. We are doing our best. And Jesus himself was a very hard worker. We need to imitate him in everything that we do, and that includes being a hard worker and doing what it takes to get the job done. We are called to be good workers, to be good students, employers, employees, laborers, whatever your title is. You are called to do the best that you can in it, because that is the Christian life, that is the attitude, and that is how you show others Christ in you. When you are the MVP, when you are the best employee at your particular branch, or whatever it is, people will begin to notice your work ethic. People will begin to notice how you get things done and how you have a positive attitude and how you always do what is asked of you. And when people ask you about it, you can say that that's Christ in you. That's part of living a mission-filled life. And this just in particular, it just really struck me, because we are called to be righteous all the time. And sometimes I think, oh, well, this doesn't matter. I don't have to put in all my effort. Or, oh, well, I can just clean this halfway and it'll be clean enough for next week. And I just forget that everything that I do in my life is dictated by God, is a way that I can show him glory and that I can show him honor and praise and show him in me. And we need to just be constantly abiding in his presence. We need to be conscious of his presence in our lives all the time. And the fact is that God pays close attention to me. Whether I realize it or not, whether I pay attention to him, God pays attention to everything that I do. and every hard work and every time that I serve others. Just like it says in Matthew chapter 25, verse 40, it says that when you did it to one of the least of these, you were doing it for me. And that is, God speaking about how we serve others and how we put effort into doing things for others. And the same thing can apply to putting effort into our jobs or our schoolwork or whatever it be. We need to be living on purpose. And even if you're not particularly enthused with where you're at right now, you need to be living on purpose and living for Christ in everything that you do. Just like Ephesians chapter 6, verses 6 through 7 says, try to please them all the time, not just when they're watching you. As slaves of Christ, do the will of God with all your heart. Work with enthusiasm as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. And we need to remember that we're working for God. No matter where you work, no matter what school you're at or what's going on in your life, you're always working for God. And I just wanted to remind you of that, for you to think about that whenever you're doing something you might not be particularly excited about. Do it for God. Do it for the hope of heaven, and do it so that others can see Christ in you.